What's up, guys? It's Ergor again. It's been a bit since my last video. I've been playing a lot of the new PoE League. For anyone who hasn't caught my recent streams, I've been trying to stream it both here on YouTube and on Twitch at least a couple times a week. I've been playing the new Transfigured gem they added, Cleave of Rage. I was really wanting to play Cleave before this league was even fully announced and they showed off the Transfigured gems. I was wanting to try and figure out how to do a Cleave build. And then when I saw they added Cleave of Rage, I was like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm going to try and do that. So I went with Berserker because it just fits perfectly with scaling Rage and stuff. And for my first time trying to make my own build entirely myself, I think it went pretty decently. And I say entirely by myself. It's not like I didn't look at what other people were doing with as a Cleave Berserker. I did check out mostly on PoE Ninja. I would look at what kind of things people were using to scale, because I'm really new to making builds. I usually just follow people's guides and do that the easier way. But I've decided I really wanted to try doing my own build for once, and this is what I went for. I've got two of the four Void Stones so far. I killed the Eater and the Searing Exarch. Searing Exarch was a real pain in the ass for me. I really suck at the ball phase, so yeah, the build's really squishy. So the balls would just one-shot me, even though I had decent fire res. And I had max fire res, but my health pool is kind of low, so it just killed me. That's kind of like the main issue I'm having with the build right now, is that it's too squishy, which I think is pretty normal for Berserkers, especially if you're like Rite of Ruin like I am, which just drains your health like crazy. And I have 120 max rage, so I drain a lot of life per second, but I have a lot of leech too, and I do a shitload of damage. At least for me, it's a shitload of damage. It's only about 1,000,000 DPS, but that's a lot more than I usually manage to do. So I'm pretty proud of it. Like, it's nothing crazy, but I'm proud of it because it's my first build I'm doing myself. What I've been working on is currently farming Betrayal. I'm trying to get that mana cost reduction craft that you can get on rings from Elrion. I've been having some bad luck with that. He hasn't wanted to give it to me yet, but once I can get 2 rings with that on there, then I'll be able to drop some of my mana reservation and still fit all 3 of my auras. And then at that point, I'm going to try and use those points to get Fortify on melee hit. I think that'll help a lot with my tankiness issues. But outside of Betrayal, I've spec'd my Atlas into Expedition and Essence, and I've been farming those alongside it, trying to craft some stuff. I got some decent boots with spell suppression on them. I got decent gloves. I actually got really lucky. I had a Voidborn Reliquary key that gave me a foil Ashes of Stars, so I've been using that. It's been pretty helpful. The extra quality is actually really good on Cleave of Rage because it gets you more rage on hit. So instead of the normal only 2 per hit that I get from having max quality, now I get 3. And I think you can scale it up to 4, but you need a lot of quality to do that. I'm not sure how you get that much quality, to be honest. Well, I'm thinking since I'm not sure, like this whole thing is new to me. Like I said, I usually follow other people's build guides, so I'm not entirely sure how to scale this too much further into later game content. Like, I'd like to do Shaper and Elder. I just don't know if I can get this character strong enough to do that right now with my current knowledge level. So I'm thinking what I might do is just reroll to something tankier, like maybe SRS Guardian or Splitting Steel Champion. Those are 2 builds that I thought looked pretty fun. That really busted Penance brand of Dissipation looks kind of fun too. That does like so much damage, and you just run in circles while it's doing damage, so it's a lot easier to stay alive. So I might try that as well. Because I'm just kind of sick of dying. I don't die as much on my Berserker now. I put in a cluster jewel and worked around my stats a good bit, and I have a bit more tankiness, and I have a lot more damage than I did beforehand, so that helps with not dying. But I mostly have to stick to tier 14s and 15s if I don't want to die, and even then in those I still die a good bit. I can clear 16s fairly comfortably, but there's always like a decent risk of death. If I really just want to not die at all, I have to do yellow maps, which is fine. I mean, you can farm yellow maps and get a pretty good amount of stuff. That's what I've been doing. I really like the league a lot. The mechanic is really rough. Like, I'm sure y'all have been seeing a lot of people talking about it. It's really rippy, but it's really juicy too if you know what you're doing. So I was doing some farming of that for a while in the low tier maps, in white maps. As for the Wildwood specialization, I started out with Warden so I could go Oath of Magi, because that's just so good for getting through the campaign. You get 30% movement speed, you get 50% resistances basically for nothing. So it's a really good way to start out the build. And then I went into Barkskin and Tinctures for a while. And then once I got to the point where I didn't need Oath of Magi anymore, I spec'd out of that. And then it got to the point where I wanted to drop Barkskin so that I could fit. What I was using originally was Barkskin, Determination, and Defiance Banner, and Pride. I think I had all four of those. And I was a Resolute Technique, Unwavering Stance build. And then I switched off of Resolute Technique and Unwavering Stance, and I put in Grace and Precision and took out Defiance Banner and Barkskin and spec'd completely out of Warden, and I switched to Primalist so that I could start using charms. And right now I only have one charm slot. I should try and get more charm slots. I don't have any super amazing charms currently. The one I'm using is just culling, which is useful. It's pretty good, especially for killing bosses. But I'd like to ideally I'd like to get the one that gives you rage per 5 power when you use war cries, because I have a red blade banner that a viewer from my stream gave me. Shout out to James for doing that. So with the infinite power on red blade banner combined with that charm, you can have the red blade banner in your offhand and you switch to it and use a war cry, and then you get full rage immediately. So that makes it so that you can more freely use either Rage Vortex or Berserk to spend your rage and kill things. It's a massive increase to DPS. Like, I'm currently running Rage Vortex of Berserking, which is the transfigured version that makes it spin around you. And it's only worth about 200,000 DPS for me right now, but still, that's quite a bit of DPS. Honestly, the main thing I like it for is not so much the DPS that it gives, but more so the leech. The extra leech has helped a lot with my survivability, because that's my main source of survivability right now is leeching. But it makes it so that I'm very vulnerable to anything that can't be leeched. So I have to be careful of that, especially since that can be a rare mob modifier. Also pretty weak to chaos damage right now. Chaos definitely really wrecks me, so I need to try and get some chaos res, probably on rings. But I'm gonna have to craft some really good rings, because my modifier economy is a little tight right now, because I have a lot of uniques in my build. I'm going to have to eventually craft a sword. I'm using On's Might right now, but I kind of want to work frenzy charges back into the build, and to do that I'd need to drop that sword because it's not really worth it. And then my other weapon is Rigwald's Savagery, which is required for the build because it's just so good for how Cleave of Rage works. This is the longest I've ever really gone without re-rolling to a second or third character. I have played a couple other characters, but I wound up just getting them like to maps and then immediately switching back to my Berserker because it was more fun. Usually when I hit like the week and a half mark, I start re-rolling a ton of characters because I get bored with the main character. and then that kind of gets me bored of the league and I wind up quitting. But I'm really enjoying Cleave of Rage so far, and I do have a lot more scaling that I can do, so I might reroll to something tankier, or I might just keep trying to progress this. If you guys have any tips for how I could progress my character a bit more, I'll put the POB in the link or in the description below. You guys can check it out. I wouldn't necessarily recommend following it as any sort of build guide or anything. This isn't a build guide at all. I am not confident enough in the build that I have crafted to suggest it to anyone. If you want to play a version of this build that's probably a million times better, you should check out other people playing it. Either look them up on PoE Ninja, or I think Mathel did a character. He did like a 3rd or 4th character for the league with this build. Knowing Mathel, he's scaled it infinitely better than I have. I haven't really looked at his version of the build yet, but I'm sure it's a lot stronger. So that'd be a better place for you guys to check out if you actually want to try and do the build yourselves. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for me based on looking at my POB, I am all ears. I really want to learn how to build characters better in this game. But that's it for today, I think. I appreciate you guys hanging out. I've started, like I said at the beginning of the video, I've started streaming more regular on my Twitch, twitch.tv/airgore. I always stream here on my YouTube channel at the same time as well. So if you prefer to watch it on YouTube, you'll see it here too. And you guys liked the video? I know I kind of just rambled on a bit, so I don't know if you liked it, but if you liked it, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. It helps a lot to get the channel seen. And I'll see you guys later. Peace out.